Flowing south from Wiltshire, the chalk filtered waters head into Hampshire, creating a magnificent specimen fishery. It's legendary and fabled for huge salmon, pike, chub and barbel, but maybe most of all, the magnificent roach. A decade ago, I thought I'd trotted the float down the Hampshire Avon for roach for the very last time. I couldn't see any way back. There have been some massive problems with flooding, weed cutting, and most of all the cormorants, the black plague working up the river, ripping out the stocks. The Hampshire Avon without its roach is an empty vessel. But instead of doom and gloom and just reminiscing, there were two men that made a big difference. And over the last decade, they have changed the fortunes of this river, and I've come to meet them. Here they are, the superheroes of the Hampshire Avon.
Ah, Martin.
How you doing, Budgie?
How you doing, mate?
You found us.
Trev?
Nice to see you, mate.
He's looking well. I don't know about you.
Enough of that, thank you very much.
Well, you've invited me here at
I know,
last.
yeah, and you're just in time. We're just about to give the babies some feed. So we'll do that. It's looking a bit shabby at the moment in its winter
Genuine
clothes.
Hampshire Avon roach.
Proper Hampshire Avon roach, Hampshire Avon fed, stews, everything, yeah. So
Can't wait.
plenty of fish, so hopefully you'll see a few.
Go and have a look.
Go and have a look, yeah. Come on. So what is it about roach? Well, it's about the most difficult, impossible question to answer. I don't know is the answer to that. All I can say is that if you catch a 6-ounce roach, a 6-ounce dace and a 6-ounce chub, you're far more likely to put the net under the roach than you are either of the others. You always give that last little look to the roach before you place it back, where the others you don't. So I don't really know what it is, but they have something for everybody. I think it's if you lean over a bridge and you see roach in the stream, it just does something to you. It's just something special about them.
I'm not absolutely sure whether roach are my favourite fish or whether I really love them. I mean, I'm an angler, I love to fish. I don't think there's anybody that in the world that would complain about catching a roach. If you were fishing for barbel and you caught a roach, you wouldn't mind. If you caught fishing for chub and you caught a roach, you wouldn't mind. So for me, it wasn't really the reason roach is because there weren't enough of them there, and it just seemed like a good place to start, really.
The Avon Roach Project it was triggered by the 2005 Environment Agency Fish Stock Survey that revealed virtually no roach in the middle reaches of the Avon, and it was estimated that roach populations in the once iconic Hampshire Avon were actually below critical mass and unable to recover unassisted. There were areas where there were actually no roach left at all. So Budgie and I thought, well, we've got to do something.
And so we actually arranged to meet by a lake one day, and we sat there and we chatted, and we both felt exactly the same about the Avon. We love the river so much, and so we just felt, let's get on and see if we can do something to help.
It was a case of elbows on knees, face to face. What can we do? Started off with thinking about roach in a bathtub to, as you know, tanks and stews that you can see up here, and the most extraordinary 15 years of our lives. The process of the Avon Roach Project is we came up with these spawning boards, artificial spawning substrate, that we place in front of the spawning roach in the river. We collect their spawn, we take it back to my garden where there's a number of fry tanks. We place the spawning boards in the fry tanks, the eggs hatch within the tanks, we keep them there for just short of a year, and then we bring them here to the stew ponds where they are grown on for a further 2 years, and at 3 years they've reached sexual maturity, which we've established through our project and through our dealings, that roach actually, both male and females, mature at 3 years of age. They then are put into the river, where within 5 weeks of their release, hopefully they'll spawn and add to their own numbers in the river. So it's a kind of we just step in, interrupt, look after them in a protected environment, then return them to the river where they belong.
I suppose the big break for us was Bicton's, where we are now. We obviously needed somewhere that once we got the fish to a year old, we needed somewhere to put them to grow on to two. And we'd found a couple of places, but unfortunately they ended up not being suitable, or they actually flooded. One of them flooded. We were looking for somewhere else to put our spawning boards, so we came down and we saw the landowner, Jack Sykes, who owns this place, and I just said, let's put a letter through his door, see if we can ask him if we can put some spawning boards in. We ended up coming down there because he didn't answer our letter, and we decided we'd put one straight to his door. And as we were doing so, he came out and said, who are you, basically. We introduced ourselves. He said, I got your letter. He said, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch. He said, we chatted about what we wanted to do. He said, I'll tell you what then. He said, there's some disused stews up at Brixton. He said, you can have those if you want to. And that was it really, because we came up here and it was impenetrable. You couldn't get past the reeds and the gunner and all the rest of it that was growing up here. It was ridiculous. It was like a jungle. So we worked really, really hard to get it to the state that we got it to. Kind of learnt about the spawning boards by first of all putting them in the lake just to see if they would work really. We wanted something that looked like either willow roots or like willow moss or fontanalis as it's known. So we put them in the lakes first, and then we also found a little side stream, a trout stream, and we tried them in there. It was the head of a trout stream really, and we put them in there first. They obviously laid their eggs in the lake, and then we found that they swum to the head of the water and spawned on our spawning boards there. And it was then that we thought, well, hang on a minute, if that's where they spawn, at the head of, we need to find other places like that. So we looked on Google Earth, found those places, and then approached the landowners and asked them if we could put them in the places where we thought they might spawn.
I think the most sceptical were the anglers. You know, you've got a couple of ordinary boys saying we're going to do something for the Avon Roach, and it was like, okay, off you pop then. And but very quickly support came flooding in. I mean, it was just it ended up just bringing tears to our eyes. It was just the most amazing thing. People believing in what we were doing. So we eventually, very soon, we realised we were flying the flag for more than just Budgie and me. It was a big deal, and both the support and the non-support, if you like, galvanised us and put wind in our sails. Because I mean, 1 minute you want the friendly pat on the back, and the next minute you want to prove everybody wrong. So it was a bit of a mixed bag really, but can't grumble at any of it, I have to say.
We've stocked all the way from just below Salisbury, from right the way down to the Royalty down at Christchurch. Places where they were caught historically they're all being caught from those places again, which is great news for us.
We feel now that we are at a level where we can back off. We've got 2 more years, 2 more stockings to do, purely because we've got the fish in the stew ponds, and we're going to put them in at the right age. But then the project will come to an end, because there are enough fish in the river now. We've achieved a level of success that we would never ever have imagined. The Hampshire Avon now is in as good a state as it's been for a generation in terms of roach fishing. Better than we ever thought we would achieve. So yes, it's they're on their own now. A couple of years and that's it, they're on their own.
Cut. That's the easy bit. Now for the hard bit, gents. Do you reckon we can catch one?
I think we've got the perfect spot. The conditions are against us, but
I'm just happy that we're going roach fishing on the Hampshire Avon. That to me is brilliant.
Say that 10 years ago and you'd have had them laughing in your face.
Shall we go and give it a go then?
Let's go. Really now, our first stocked fish in the river will be 14 years of age. So they will be way into their £2, maybe even getting on to £3. The fry sampling, I was showing little tiny roach. So the fry bay sampling of the fish are showing 5% roach. So they are doing it for themselves in the river. And that was what the project was all about really, not just us chucking fish in the river.
So you've decided on the float then.
Always Trev the float. That's me.
Oh, yeah?
I'll always go for the float first. Yeah.
And you always use a pin?
I used to be the slave to the pin, I have to admit, but no, I've kicked the habit. I will use it in preference over anything else, but no, I was kind of getting stuck in it, you know, using it when I shouldn't really, trying to cast too far with it, and like we all do. So I got myself a few other reels, so I'm no longer a slave to it, but
What's
I do
that,
love it.
14 foot acolyte or 15?
15.
15.
Favourite, yeah, lovely, love it. It was a birthday present.
And you're a maggot man, bread man?
Trev the bread, I am. I'm usually a bread man through and through. I don't think you can beat bread for roach, chub and all sorts really. But I'm a maggot man today because I scrounged them off some passer-by. And the water's very clear, so you've got to do what the conditions demand really, I reckon.
And what would you say is prime time? We're coming up to it now when the sun...
as the sun hits the horizon behind the shade of the trees there and casts a shadow, just in the last, always, there's never enough hours in the day. It's all those last minutes, those last moments.
It's fine lines, isn't it, between success and failure?
It's just that...
Oh, I thought you had one then.
Oh dear.
Oh, but it's nice just to put that loafer down and just... There's that hope, isn't there?
That's the thing, and that's the thing with the Avon now. There is that hope, isn't there? Now the roach are back in it, there is that hope of that one lovely redfin, which is what we're after.
And the thing is, they can grow to £3 in this river, can't they?
And they do in this particular stretch, because interestingly, where we are is one of the places we collect our spawn for the project.
Right.
Just up here at the weir.
I wonder why Budgie was up in the weir.
Yeah, you got to give him the best spot. He's the boss after all. And even when we first started the project, and we were collecting spawn from as few as a dozen roach in certain stretches, 1 or 2 of them were 3-pounders. So even way back then, even though there were only a few left, one thing the Avon has continued to do is to grow big roach. Wow. So fortunately, the strain that we've maintained through the project means it's that pure Avon strain, which is all part of the reason we did it the way we did it with the spawning boards, really.
So if we hook a fish this evening,
I'll probably know its name.
Well, I'm going to leave you to it.
All right.
Because we ain't got long left. We've
No.
only got an hour or so, so I'm going to head downstream, have a little potter around, see if I can find a spot for the last little while. But holler if you get one, or Budgie's got one, and I'll come running up, all right?
Okay, will do.
Don't let
Good
us
luck.
down. Mate. It's all
I'll try.
Hello, mate. How many 3-pounders you had?
Yeah. Chance would be a fine thing, wouldn't it? I suppose there's always a chance. Any joy down there?
No, I haven't really started. I'm just sort of like having a look and seeing how you boys do it. So
right.
You're on the tip then. You chose to.
Yeah, I find it. Yeah, I find fishing on the river a lot easier with a tip than I do a float. So, yeah.
Right.
So,
what you got down there? A feeder and a pattern after,
feed.
is it?
Yeah, just a feed straight. Just a running feeder straight on the line and straight through. That's how I normally fish. So.
And maggot or bread?
Maggot.
Are you more of a maggot man or a bread man?
Well, in these conditions, maggot's best, isn't it? But I'd rather be using bread in a bit of murky water. So yeah. But yeah, there's certainly a good chance of a fish along this stretch.
And you under this willow, are you?
Yes. Yeah, just tucked in under the willow. Definitely got form this bit of the river because we have some whoppers come up. We put our spawning boards in just above here.
Right.
And we have some whoppers come up and spawn on them in the spring. So it's a pretty stretch this.
Yeah, but it'll look amazing when your tip goes. And there's a 3-pounder on the
yeah,
end.
it takes a dive. Yeah, it would be lovely.
Hey, I just love watching the tip crank over.
Yeah, it's brilliant when it wraps around like that.
Oh yeah, well hopefully it happens. I'm going to have a wander down and then get fishing. So
yeah,
give me a shout. I'm not far away. If you get one,
okay.
I'll be back up.
No worries, mate.
You'll be lucky, mate.
Yeah, I will do.
So was there a particular moment when we realised that we'd kind of got there and seen it? Well, there was a number of it built up over the years, but I would say one of the most significant things was when people started catching roach at our fundraiser, the fishing matches at our fundraiser. For the first few years we would have, you know, nearly 70 people fishing the Hampshire Avon and there wouldn't be a roach caught. And then all of a sudden there were a few, and then suddenly the catch returns all started showing roach, to the point at which the match was then started being won with roach. And not only single individual fish, but there would be bags of 50 and 60 roach in an afternoon, which is just beyond imagination to us. I mean, it's really, really lovely. So, yeah. So it was I would say for us, it was the fundraiser and people catching, and catching them ourselves, you know. Even I could catch one.
I think anybody who's thinking about having a go at doing something to help the river, I think they should go with it. Because at the beginning we felt like we needed somebody behind us to give us some backing. In the end, we found them more of an anchor than they were a help, and so we went forward and we just thought, well, look, let's just have a crack. If we don't achieve anything, at least we will have tried. So if anybody out there is thinking about having a go, and it doesn't matter how small it is, a small thing can make a big difference. Even, you know, it really, really can.
Well, the day's drawing to a close. I haven't caught a roach, not yet. But what these lads have given me is the chance of a roach. And that's so important. That's much more important than what I catch today, because I can go home and I can dream of big roach once more in the Hampshire Avon.